I will open today with the social motto: the healthy social life is found when, in the mirror of each soul, the whole community finds its reflection, and when in the community, the virtue of each individual is living. As you all know, today is Whitsun, or Pentecost. This is a special festival connected with first Easter, then Ascension, and now Whitsun. It is about the human being truly becoming free. It is a festival wherein each of us can unite with others. And in that spiritual union, we experience, or can experience, the Holy Spirit's fire for us to help others to become. I am so grateful we can share this time today with you as community. Before I introduce our two speakers, I have a couple of announcements. This year, the Perseid meteor shower will peak on the 12th of August. So the MysTech 2025 conference will be August 7th to the 10th. Our theme for this year's conference: Facing the Incarnation of Armen. This will be our 8th annual conference, and we feel this theme is very important for our times. On mystech.org, you can find the landing page for this conference and register there as well, or just get more information. Interestingly, when we first picked this week 8 years ago, there were no other anthroposophical conferences at that time. This year, I know of at least 2 big ones that are happening that same week. So, of course, we'll record ours for those who want to go elsewhere first. I'm teasing. So, and I just also want to mention our next webinar is going to be on the 27th of July with violin maker Arthur Bai. He has spent his life studying the work of Franz Thomastik of Vienna, Austria. Arthur has been making Thomastik violins for some 50 years now, so we hope you can join us. That'll be at 3 p.m. on the 27th. Also, you're welcome to join the webinar hosted by the Los Angeles branch on June 21st from 10 to 5 Pacific Daylight Time on the topic of the soul and technology. This in-depth exploration will have yours truly, as well as 2 professors, Eric Cunningham of Gonzaga and Valdemar Setzer of the University of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And you can find that going to just do a Google search for the Los Angeles branch of the Anthroposophical Society. So now for our Whitsun webinar. We can find inner peace while we live in a technological age. Christ said, "Lest ye become like little children, ye shall never enter the kingdom of heaven." You see, there is a slide where we can shoot down into subnature. Oh, fun. There is also in this playground a ladder to climb back up and to climb even higher. Yes, there is cosmic purpose for this tech playground in our human evolution, but it will take strength of soul for each one of us out of conscious effort to awaken that higher I, as did those disciples on that first Whitsun. I know both Karola and Sally from various previous MysTech courses that they were part of. I worked with Karola, who translated the MysTech first course study guide into German. Both came upon this meditation practice that was developed by Armen Tougu, a Christian community priest in Stuttgart. They have taken several of Armen's courses. And so now Sally and Karola are here to introduce this meditation to us. those of us who are struggling with the challenges of life in this technological age. So I'm delighted to have you both, Sally and Karola. I think people have read your biography, so I won't repeat them, but I will now turn this over to you to speak about this inner peace meditation. And I'll turn it over first to you, Karola.
Hello and welcome, everyone. I want to read a verse for Whitson from Adam Biddleston. Thou holy fire, make thy home in us, when we at peace can see and serve the truth. Make strong in us the memory of Christ. Bring to our tongues his world-renewing word. Thou gracious light, uniting distant men in certainty on paths of active thought. Make clear to us the charge of destiny. Bring to our heads thy world-renewing hope. Thou healing breath, who in the body's depths restorest harmony with heaven's will. Let live in us the order of the stars. Bring to our hearts their world-renewing joy. And Sally, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Karola and I met at MysTech. She lives in Florida and I live in California. So we're footing each side of this country, this very large country. And Andrew, both Karola and I have so much gratitude to you for what you do with MysTech and this being of MysTech and the significance it has for our country, which is this, very vast land that requires us to use this technology of Armen to be here together. And what you do is amazing. And you always have a smile and a joke and a laugh. And I really appreciate it. And I know how busy you are. So Karola and I have probably taken every MysTech class there is, and we really love it. We've met many really good friends. I love that often it's new people to anthroposophy in MysTech groups. Not always, but you do find that. And it's really a wonderful thing that happens in those groups. And we study Steiner's works and on different topics. And one thing Karola and I found as we were studying is that we wanted to have imaginative practices. We wanted to work in these ideas that we were receiving from all these texts from Rudolf Steiner. And we both, Karola went to Germany and studied these methods, and I got to do it here in California because there's people that do it, teach them. And we really wanted those teachers to be doing this presentation, but it turned out it was Karola and my task. Here we are. And so I will begin sharing with you this logic of the heart method that we have been practicing to find inner peace within ourselves. And I'll just quote from How to Know Higher Worlds first, because that first chapter in How to Know Higher Worlds really highlights the importance and significance of developing inner peace within ourselves. It's preparation, Steiner says, on the path to higher knowledge. And it's a very simple thing, but it's actually crucial that we develop this inner peace within ourselves so that we can perceive truth and higher knowledge. And he says, the world around us is filled everywhere with the glory of God, but we have to experience the divine in our own souls before we can find it in our surroundings. So in How to Know Higher Worlds, he talks about how we are to withdraw for 5 minutes, view ourselves as a stranger, see our world, our life from a higher viewpoint. But he doesn't have any specific method. We're left free to find that stillness within ourselves. And Armen Tougu, the Christian community priest in Stuttgart, a long time ago, brought this question to himself in his spiritual research of what the method might be if there were step by step. And this is what came about. It's been practiced with many, many people now in groups, and we share this out of our own experience of working with it. For you to be free, if you'd like to try this out, to be able to achieve inner peace kind of in a consistent manner, and also so that at the end we can share our experience and develop a language of the spirit from going into our spiritual laboratories of our souls, trying it out and having experiences and then sharing. So this is a dynamic meditation, working with our imagination. And in the invitation, it talked about a guided meditation, which is not always ideal. We want to have we want to work out of ourself and guide ourselves through the meditation, but it is also a logic of the heart where we're working in our feelings, and we don't want to get too heady and worry if we're following the instructions or not. So I'm going to explain some of the laws of the logic of the heart, and then the actual meditation step by step, and then which you can write down, and you might want to have a piece of paper with you to write down those steps. And then Karola will talk us through the instructions. So if you don't want to guide yourself, you can just listen to her and go through step by step, and then we'll share and have questions at the end. All right. And I apologize for the rustling of paper and the lack of slides, but I didn't want us to get too focused on this, the theory. So if you just want to relax and listen, and I'm just going to share with you what we have discovered through this process. So I'm going to quote Steiner again. We are told as students of occult knowledge to create moments in life when we can withdraw into ourselves in silence and solitude. Allow what we have experienced, what the world has told us, to linger in utter stillness. And then we might have a feeling, and it might take us off balance in that stillness. And what would we do? How do we reckon with these feelings that are weaving and have two poles that they have lots of energy between these two poles, but we can get stuck on one side or the other. It can cause us to perceive things in a biased manner, or maybe even not even conscious. So our soul has these three forces: thinking, feeling, and willing. And we're going to focus on the feeling part of the soul right now. And nobody can do this soul work for us. We have to do it ourselves. And just like digesting our food. And it does take some effort and practice and consistency. And we, in this day and age, we don't really work following gurus. We work within ourselves. We try things out in our spiritual laboratory in meditation. And then we listen for guidance. We read spiritual science. Maybe we find somebody who knows a little bit more and we try that out. But this is really our own experience and use of our imagination in freedom. And we're building capacities in our soul when we work in our soul to balance it, to find that inner stillness, and to work with our feelings. So we consciously guide our feelings to arrive at a state of inner peace. And in the Buddhist tradition, they might call this free from attachment inner peace. In 12-step programs, they might say the priceless gift of serenity. And in Christian monastic traditions, they might call it centering. In How to Know Higher Worlds, he says inner calm or stillness. And so when the outer world approaches us through sense impressions, we experience feelings in our soul. And it happens all day long. And usually it's not a problem. And when we're in meditation, we can notice, oh, that really knocked me out of balance, even the smallest thing. But in day to day, it's kind of part of our experience to have all these feelings, unless something's really horrible. And then we might revisit it later in our backwards review or in our meditation. So when our feelings arise, it tells us something about ourselves. And if we don't pay attention to it, we don't, it goes by and we don't really get that information. And we can find it later in meditation. And if we know more about these laws of feeling, because feeling, thinking, and willing have their own special dynamic, and feeling has what we're going to go through, certain laws. And Armen says, in the inner peace practice, we first become fully aware and conscious of our emotions, and then we balance and harmonize them according to the laws of feeling. And that is in this book, Ways to Social Healing, the Basic Methods, which we'll have a link at the end if you are interested in it. So the laws of feeling that we're going to work with are these. So when phenomena approaches us, or we experience phenomena from the outside world in feelings, this first understanding of this law that we're working with is the more unconscious we are of a feeling, the stronger the effect, and the less free I am in relationship to it. And then the next one is that each feeling or mood gives rise to a complementary supplemental feeling. A balancing process begins with this complementary feeling that arises. We know feelings have two poles, sympathy and antipathy. And we don't usually notice this complementary feeling. Usually the first feeling is obvious, and the second one, the balancing feeling, is not something we notice. So the third law that we're working with is the complementary feeling made conscious. And we do that in this practice through an action called separation, which I'll talk about later, can balance and neutralize the first feeling. So when we are able to make conscious this complementary feeling, we can balance and neutralize this first feeling. And this principle of complementary healing reestablishes balance in the soul, and it usually takes time to take effect. So that's why we have that phrase, time heals all wounds, because the balancing process happens, we're just not active in it. And the fourth law that we're working with is inner peace, gives us this sense of truth. When we make conscious the sympathy and antipathy, our soul can sense from an objective viewpoint, and inner peace or empathy arises. And this empathy is its own complement. It's a self-supporting point of quiet in the center of the weaving of sympathy and antipathy. So those are the laws. And then I'm going to just define a few terms that you might notice in the meditation process. So the first one is observation. So we want to notice sensations. And we know that observation and thinking are the two most important viewpoints for the human being. But we want to just observe without judging. We're just observing. And then we go on to define. So we're going to define what we're sensing inside. And we want to stay out of our intellect and not associate it to something that happened before or some kind of image from before. We're actually just defining the feeling, sensations through our senses. So we want to define the size, the location, the shape, the movement, the color, the sound, the taste, the smell, maybe even a temperature. And then we're creating basically our own symbolic image out of these sensations. And then complementary feeling is another term. I've talked about it in laws, but we're going to notice a complementary feeling, which we know is it's not necessarily the opposite of the first feeling, but it's the complement. So kind of like when you look at the sun and then you close your eyes and you see that blue spot, the complementary feeling is this opposite complement. Then the other term is separation. So we're going to use a action within our soul and our imagination called separation. And this separation is done lovingly. We're not we're not in the New Age movement where we want to get everything out of us and cut the cords and burn the contracts. We're actually just lovingly separating from this to be able to observe it in front of us and find the full information about it, the knowledge of it. And there's an element of sacrifice in this. And when we're interwoven with experiences, we can only see what's coming towards us from our own perspective. But when we can detach from it, we can separate from it and put it out in front of us to observe, then it's not bound up in us and we can see it. Like kind of if you had something on your face and you could feel it, but you wouldn't know what it is until you put it in front of you. And then the last term is allow and trust. So we do have a part in this process, but the spiritual world is also working. And there are times when we just allow things to happen in this meditation. And we allow the complementary feeling to arise. We allow the balancing process to happen in the end. And we observe in reverence. This reverence is a really important part of our observation. Okay, so that's all the theory. I'm just going to hold up this. If you have a piece of paper, you might want to fold it into 3 parts. I like to put 1 and 2 footing each end and then 3 in the middle, but you can do it any way you want. And you also might want to draw instead of work in your imagination. If that's easier for you, that's perfectly fine. So the first step is we think about a feeling that maybe took us off balance. Maybe you were going to first class and you were late and there was a car driving really slow in front of you and you couldn't help but get angry and hot. You could use that feeling of that angry and hot. You might not want to use the most traumatic experience in your life today, just something that, you felt out of balance with, but, isn't too big to digest. So choose that feeling. Usually we choose something that isn't the greatest feeling because we notice that out of balance. If you were super excited, you could use that too. There's a complementary process that happens with good feelings as well as bad feelings, but you get to decide what you're going to work with. So we're going to observe how that feels within us. We're going to define it, and then we're going to separate it by putting it on the paper, or we're going to just put it in our imagination out in front of us. And then we go to the complementary feeling. This is step 2. And we notice now that first feeling is out in front of us, what do we notice inside? And this is usually more subtle. If something jumps up and it feels related to the first feeling, you can put it out in front of you with that first feeling. The second feeling is usually more subtle. It usually feels really healing and good, and you might not want to separate from it. But if you don't, you're going to be stuck on another side of the pole, and you won't have the full truth. So we define this second feeling the same way we did the first: color, size, shape, form, and then we put it in front of us. And then we wait, and we just observe what arises, and something new happens when they're both in front of us, and we notice how we feel inside. And that is often the inner peace or this empathetic place that arises, and it's its own complement. So if you want to test it, you can try to put this inner peace outside in front of you, and if it comes back, you know that you're there in this subjective viewpoint. And I'm just going to read this really quick from the book Basic Methods. The logic of the heart or inner peace practice leads us by way of separating both polar soul moods from our everyday self to our free higher self, which has a clear view of life without sympathy and antipathy. So now Karola is going to talk us through the meditation. If you want to go and do this on your own and then come back for the question and answers, just turn the volume down. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Sally. So we are now ready to go into this meditation. She explained everything in detail, and I will just walk you through it, which we will not do all the time. This is just for your benefit, so that way you know how it works. Okay. You take a few deep breaths, and you might want to close your eyes if you're not going to draw. And consider a situation or an experience. Connect with that situation and see what kind of feeling arises in you. Just notice the sensations that are happening inwardly and begin to sense your feelings. Don't name the feeling. Just attend to the qualities of your feelings. You might notice some tensions in your body or changes in your rhythm of breathing or circulation if you have a specific situation that is creating these rhythms. Now, to form an inner picture of this feeling or feelings, we're going to describe it as if we were painting a picture, an inner landscape that includes as many qualities and modalities so it can become very clear. First, focus on where in your body does this feeling reside. And what's the shape of it? Is it smooth or circular? Does it have edges? Or is it directional? And how big or small is this feeling? Just observe and notice. What substances is this feeling made of? Is it earthy or watery? Is it perhaps airy or fiery? How dense is it? Is it heavy and thick? Or is it light? What would be a good match of color or colors for that feeling or feelings that you notice? Is there a movement to it? Maybe it is vibrating or swirling. Or maybe it's just still and just sitting there. Is there a certain temperature to it? Is it hot or cold? Or neutral? Can you maybe associate some sound with that feeling? Maybe there are other sensory qualities involved as well. Whatever it is that you notice and observe, add it to your existing image in your inner landscape. And once you have all of these modalities where you can see a clear image of the feeling or feelings that were brought about this situation, then condense it till it becomes clearer to you. Now we imagine that we're setting this feeling out of ourselves in front, away from you. And you can do that by pushing it out from your body. You can get it out with your hands of light or your ether hands. And just take it and push it out. Make sure that you get all of it out. It might take several times to go through this, of taking whatever is left behind and setting it outside. And you want to set it far enough away so it can no longer come back to you. You might have to repeat this again to make sure that all of this feeling, if there is any remainder left, you just push it outside. Until it's completely detached from you. And you can now observe it. And you can notice perhaps a moment of stillness in how this feeling is no longer affecting you. It's no longer inside. And when you are finished separating this feeling, then turn your attention back inside and notice a new feeling that arises, a complementary feeling that is probably very faint at the beginning. Just use your senses and observe what arises. And we go through this process with this new feeling too. We want to create this clear image inside. And get all the modalities of this new feeling so we can get a clear picture of it. You can imagine that you're painting on a canvas. Where in your body do you feel this new feeling? Where does it reside? Maybe it is around the space where the first feeling was, or maybe it is somewhere else. So just observe. Notice the shape of that feeling. Is it rectangle or circular? Is it perhaps a cylinder? Are there any edges, or is it smooth? What is the density like of this feeling? Is this light and airy? Or is it heavy and thick? What type of substance do you notice? Is it earthy or watery? Or is it fiery and airy? What color or colors are a good description for this new feeling? Does it have any movement? Is it perhaps directional? Or swirling? Does it feel expansive? Or is it still? Maybe you feel a difference in temperature of that feeling. Notice and observe whether this feeling is warmer or maybe hot or cooler or cold. Or maybe it's just neutral yet pleasant. And you hear a sound or a musical tone with this feeling. Maybe you can smell something of that feeling that might arise in you. Now we bring all of these qualities together. And have a clear inner imagination of this new complementary feeling. And once you have this clear image, then you use your hands of light and you take that feeling and separate it out of your body, in front of you, away from you. You can set it either next to the first feeling, or you can set it on top of it, or above, or below, wherever you want to set that feeling. You just make sure that it's no longer inside of you. And observe to see if there's any leftover from either separating this complementary feeling or from the first feeling. If there are any remainders still lingering, then go through this process and push it out and add it so there's nothing left inside. Now you can observe the complementary feeling outside of you too. And you might notice how the first feeling and the complementary feeling are interacting with each other. It's as if they're balancing each other out. And you can just observe that. And when you're ready, you can turn your attention back inside. And you will realize that there's a space that was created in you. Just notice and allow whatever arises in you come without you creating anything. You just observe. And if you were successful in separating these two feelings out from your body, then you will notice a state of calm, relaxation. You might feel spacious or harmonious, for example. You feel an inner peace that arises. And you try to maintain this experience of inner peace. You're in this objective perception now, where you have empathy in the sense of truth, that you can look at things without being pulled from one side to the other, without antipathy and without sympathy, but with empathy and a sense of truth. And this sense of truth is the access to your higher self. By achieving this inner peace, you can then look at any situation by going through all of these steps each time to have this inner peace and this sense of truth. And if you're not sure if this is inner peace, then you just use your hands of light and separate that from you as well, by creating an imagination. If you separate this inner peace, it will come back to you. If you were successful, it will come back to you even stronger than it was. And from this point of inner peace, now we're actually ready to do much deeper work. This is the preliminary step for clearing our inner soul state from sympathy and antipathy to get to this sense of truth. And we use this meditation before we do any other work every time. You can do this inner peace meditation when you practice it. You can do it anywhere you are. It's like learning the language, and it may take time, but you will get very good at it, and you can do it anywhere, even if you're driving in the car. You'll have to keep your eyes open, but you can do it. And that is what I wanted to share with you. So if you're ready, you can come back slowly. And I think we're ready for questions and answers.
Okay, wonderful. Did you want me to slideshow that first slide, Karola, for the people before we go to Q&A?
Yeah, sure. That would probably be a good idea.
So I don't know if you want to review it one more time before we go to the Q&A, what the steps were.
So this first feeling was a situation or an experience that you've had that creates this somewhat a feeling that is not objective. Could be unpleasant. It could be, like Sally said before, it could be overexcitement. And then you create this image inside. And once you have a clear picture with all of these modalities, then you set it outside in front of you. And you can observe it, how it is taking on its own life. And now you go back inside for the second, the complementary feeling. It might take longer for that one because it's much more subtle. But you do the same process again, and you set the complementary feeling outside too. And once you are finished observing those two feelings and how they interact, then you pay your attention should be going back inside to pay attention to your inner soul state. And that's where you should be able to feel this inner peace arising in you, this objectivity and this sense of truth. And this is where the basic meditation is completed. And that's when we go to much deeper work.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I also have thanks from an anonymous attendee. If you'd like to ask a question, and you have the ability to raise hand, which should be right along the bottom, a raise hand, or you can put it into the Q&A, and I will ask you to speak it, or I'll read it if you put it into the Q&A. But at the moment, we don't have any. So I will just ask.
Maybe we could ask if people want to share their experience.
Right. And while people are getting their courage up for that,
maybe
let
you
me
can put
ask.
up maybe you can put up the slide with the websites so they can
That as well,
take a
right?
screenshot so that way they can put it in there for the resources.
Right. So there is that. And then if we go to the next. So here are the resources you can go to get more on this. Lisa asked,
The English website, you can find the book that Sally was talking about, Ways to Social Healing, Basic
okay,
Methods. And the German website above, there are all the different groups listed, and they're the group leaders. However, most of them are in German, but there should be something that you can find in English. So,
okay,
and the first line is my email.
right. So here's Karola's email. Okay, I'm going to hit the stop share so that I can see if anybody's, some people said they don't think the raised hand is turned on. And so just going to, I don't see anything that allows me to turn on that. Yeah, so I guess I don't see how to turn it on. I thought it was on, but so we do have some questions. I'll just read them for you. Could we discuss imagining the future stories, especially for children in these times, these Aramonic times that we're in? I'm not sure if you get the question. I'm not sure I get it. But I think they're asking about stories for children. Could we discuss imagining the future stories?
Do you have any ideas, Sally?
Sounds like an important topic.
That's true. I know we haven't worked with it, so but that's a good question to raise with Armen and Max.
Okay. Let's see over here in chat. Is there a specific publication for this meditation? Was that the book you were showing, Sally?
Yes.
It's in this book, which is called Ways to Social Healing Basic Methods. It's a translation of lectures by Max Gunther and Lisa Wong and Dietland. I can't pronounce her name very well. Tomith. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher it. Anyways, it's available on the website Serving Social Healing that we put up. And if you have any questions or want to know more, you can email Karola, and her and I will answer you.
So we had somebody asking if you could just type into the chat the website or the email, one of your emails,
Okay.
and send it to everyone. So in the blue tab there, click down to get everyone, and then just type it in. Let's see. So this question, did you explain that what was gone through was the beginning of the meditation? I think you did. That there is much more to the process.
There are other methods to achieve different truths, but this is the first meditation that we do. It's pretty much the basic, and it is involved in most of the other methods that we do to bring ourselves to this inner peace, which is the prerequisite for working in higher worlds. So there is more, but this is the important one that we can share with you out of our own experience, because we found it to be very helpful.
And I thought it was very important that you said this really comes out of knowledge of higher worlds, looking at how do I get these first steps? How do I do these practices of getting to this, should we say, core of my being, getting where I can balance my sympathies and antipathies and come to my core being. And I thought that was very important. And as you ended, Karola, with truth, it reminded me, this is Whitsun, and the Whitsun expression is, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And I thought this meditation was exactly that. It's a way to set us free of our sympathies and antipathies so that we
Yes,
see ourselves even objectively.
absolutely. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. Because then we're free to work with the higher world.
Right. So one person wrote that they've done these with you and they're very effective. There seems to be something very vital in living when we conduct our body sensations with our emotions. And I think, again, on future stories, the future story sounds like a good application for the logic of the will and
There is logic of
as a following method, right?
we practice that too.
Yes.
That's a really helpful practice to discern and determine what the right action is to take in the world in harmony as an ethical individual.
Right. So the question here, doing this meditation, does doing the meditation get quicker with practice? Obviously, the time you spent, Karola, was very, shall we say, slow moving.
Yes.
Can you speed this up as you get more practiced with it?
Absolutely. In our groups, we do 5 minutes. Because nobody has to read anything. We just do it, and it's very fast. Because you learn it. It's like learning a foreign language. The more you practice, the better you get and the faster you get at it.
Right. Well, I don't see any more questions. If I missed a question you asked, I'm very sorry, but I don't see any more at the moment. And I'm sorry the raised hand didn't work. I'll have to, for our next webinar, figure out why that didn't work, because that's, I like that, because then I get to give you the floor and you get to speak it here and it gets into the recording. So I want to thank you both, and I guess we can bring this to a close, and I hope everyone's Whitsun has been enhanced from this. And thank you both, Karola and Sally, for coming on and sharing this with us. And I hope we can have you again.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. And make sure that they have my email address. So
Right. I see it
questions.
there in the chat, karolathurman@gmail.com.
Yes.
So again, thank you all and have a wonderful
Have
time.
a,
Bye.
have a great Whitsun.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.